Hello, amazing souls. Welcome to the Soul Vibe Insights podcast, a show to demystify the soul, intuition, and the Akashic records. We know a thing or two about the ups and downs of being on a spiritual growth plan and how to find the higher perspective, even when it seems like there isn't one. I'm your host, Maddie Hollingsworth.
And I'm your host, Emily Pearl. We've been professional intuitives and energy healers for over 20 years now. We believe each of us are on a unique path of growth and learning, and our intuition is meant to be our guide. The problem is, most of us have never learned how to use it. That's where we come in, helping you discover how your intuition works and the lessons your soul has chosen to learn in this life is what we're all about.
All right, y'all, let's jump right into today's show.
Hey there, amazing soul friends, and welcome to today's show. This is for all of you sensitive souls and sensitive people out there, which Emily and I are definitely include ourselves in that group.
Yes, indeed. We thought that this would be a really good podcast to do, considering how many natural disasters are going on, how many just really sad and hard things to handle that are happening in the world right now. So we feel like it is a good time to share some tips on things that you can do when you're feeling like all of these things that are happening in the world are just getting to be a little too much for you. And just another thing to note, we are in the beginning of solar maximum right now. It's supposed to happen late this year to early 2026, so it doesn't seem like the natural disasters are going to be ending anytime soon. In fact, it seems like, we may see an increase here in the next year or so. I'm not trying to put out any kind of fear mongering or anything like that, but it is something to just be aware of, because solar maximum and all of the solar activity does really cause an impact here on Earth. And as a lot of people saw the Northern Lights, when was that? What month was that?
That was right at our anniversary.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So back in May, we unfortunately did not get to see them, but that is not a normal thing for a lot of people that got to see them to see. So that's, our first clue right there that there are things happening right now in the world, in the earth, that are just beyond our control. So the best thing we can do is really try to love each other, really try to love ourselves, and do the best we can to just take care of each other and really try to help each other through these times.
Yeah, given what happened recently to our beloved home of 20 years in Asheville, North Carolina, and all of western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee and some parts of North Georgia and South Carolina with all the flooding.
What could be happening right now to Florida, or what is happening right now in Florida, it's just very, very hard to see that there's lots of people out there that are losing their homes, losing their, losing everything that they work so hard to have and to get. So it's just been very difficult.
And they didn't do anything wrong. Mother Nature is unleashing energy. And that's part of why Emily brought up the solar maximum, because the sun is sending so much more energy out into the universe that when it comes Earth's way, Mother Gaia is absorbing that and has to deal with it in her own way. Just like when we're hanging around people and somebody's having a really bad day and, everyone around kind of absorbs some of that energy and tries to transmute it or deals with it in their own way. This is what Mother Nature is doing with all this extra energy that's coming her way. Unfortunately, it might mean more storms, more natural disasters. Who knows? And I did want to say that as much as our hearts have broken for everything that's been going on and happening, I'm very happy to report that I've seen way more stories of communities and people coming together and helping and trying to figure out, okay, I'm safe, I've got this, hey, I've got a few friends together, we have a truck and a four-wheeler between us, how can we get supplies to people stuck on a mountainside? There's way more stories of community coming together and loving each other and trying to help each other out. I've seen people literally say, I've got trees down on my house, but I'm so grateful to be here and all my neighbors are safe. And just showing gratitude even when shit has hit the fan.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful thing to see, but also it's been heartbreaking to know that so many people are suffering right now. And especially there's a large portion of our friends and family that are there right now, and just hearing their stories of survival. And it's, it does take a toll, and we're not even right in the middle of it. So we thought that this would be a good podcast to kind of send out there to the other people that are feeling really sensitive and feeling really connected to what's going on in the world. And it's just not with the natural disasters. I mean, there's a lot of other things going on as well. I mean, we all know what the things are, so I won't go into them. But should we do a life update really quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing is we've left Salt Lake City and we're back in Colorado. We're on the Eastern Front Range in a farming community called Johnstown, not too far away from Fort Collins.
Yeah, we have a very beautiful view of the Rocky Mountains. We get to see the sun set over them, and it is pretty spectacular. We are keeping 2 kitties right now, and it's kind of special because the last time we were here, we stayed for 2 months. They had just gotten this brand new kitty named Spooky, and he is named that because he was super scared and just frightened of everything and anything, any noise. And in our 2 months here, we helped him come out of his shell, and we helped him kind of acclimate to the place, which was really kind of special. And so now that we're here, he's been here for, let's see, how long has it been now?
Spooky's been here about 8 months total.
Yeah, so now he is just like, he is man about town now. I mean, he owns this farm. He hunts the mouse. He and Sylvie, the other kitty, they are like best friends. I actually walked in on them snuggling up together today when last time we were here, they were just becoming friends. They would like swat at each other and hiss, but now like to see them like cuddled up together, it is the cutest thing ever. So that is something that's really cool and been kind of an exciting part about us being back. And all right, so shall we get into the podcast? Or is there something else you wanted to say?
Well, let's get into it. We're going to break down different types of sensitive people or gifts out there and what it means so you can understand it a little better. And then we're going to get into some tips on how to help your sensitivity out or to not overexert yourself. And,
yeah, just to not let it get the best of you. Like to see it as the gift it is and not as a burden or a curse.
And I guess the first thing I want to say is that 98% of the people in the world have the ability to empathize in a given situation. So we're not trying to say that only certain people have empathy or can be sensitive. 98% of the world can look at a hurricane coming through and empathize with what's about to potentially happen and what's going on with people. So most everybody has the ability to get in their heart space and just kind of feel, understand that, whoa, that's a tough situation. I feel for those people. But there are certain people that actually literally feel the feelings.
Yeah, they're predisposed.
Yeah, predisposed.
Yeah, to actually feel the emotions of others, feel different things from others that greatly impact them as individuals.
First off, we're talking about empaths. And the big thing to know about empaths is that they have a porous aura, if you will. They don't have a really solid, well-defined outer edge auric field. And because of this porousness, it allows information and energy to come through easily, quickly. There's not really the filter there kind of stopping it. And that's why an emotional empath sometimes can't tell that those aren't their feelings that they're processing through their heart chakra because they're flooding in. And it can be such an intense feeling, the feels for them, that they might think that they're theirs and not realize that it's actually the person next to them.
Well, I mean, it literally feels like it is their own. So this is definitely something that I have come to terms with in my life, processing the emotions of others and being able to determine what is mine and what is not.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one, is trying to work through things and determine what is you and what isn't you. For sure, when you're an empath, empaths can be born with their empathic gifts. A lot of empaths can be made empaths through their trauma that they have experienced either early in their life or at some point, because experiencing this trauma has made them very sensitive because they're trying to defend themselves or perhaps mitigate any more bad happening in their life, so they become more sensitive to the energies around them.
Yeah, essentially, it makes you more hyper vigilant. Like you begin to anticipate the needs of others because you're basically trying to keep that other person from having this strong emotional reaction, because in turn, that their strong emotional reaction feels like your own. So as long as you, I mean, this is kind of how people pleasers are born as well. If everyone feels great around you, then you feel better as well. And so that's part of the obstacle of being an empath, is that you have to learn how to let go and realize that other people's emotional state is not your responsibility to dictate.
And your past experiences aren't your present reality. I mean, there is a slight chance they could be, depending on, what's going on in your world as an empath. But to try to let go and understand that that was my past, that was some effed up stuff that happened, but it doesn't mean that every single time I feel an energy that's slightly similar, that it's going to happen again to me. And for me personally, that was a very tough bridge to cross, was to get out of my reactions, my hypervigilance. My subconscious and my energy field was like, well, that was similar to that thing that happened, so therefore it's going to happen again. I must be on the defensive. I must do everything I can to please that person so they won't want to do anything bad. And this is kind of how the subconscious will work there for an empath that has been made an empath. You won't even be consciously aware of the fact that you might be a people pleaser or over giving of yourself or running yourself completely till your battery's gone out, trying to do for others, because if everyone else around you is okay, then you can be okay. Then you're safe. Then you can rest finally. Something else I would say, this doesn't hold exactly true every single time, but for the most part, an empath's gifts works when they're within an auric range of someone else. So when your auras are meeting the auras of others, there's that energy exchange. And because your aura is porous, you're taking it on even more so. And this even works for like an environmental empath, where they're connected to nature and to like Mother Earth. Everywhere you are, you're within the auric field of Mother Earth.
Yeah, so the second type of sensitive person that could be experiencing these strong feelings on a wider scale are highly sensitive people. They are not just sensitive feelers. Typically, they're more intuitive. They're deep processors.
Deep processors can become overstimulated really easy. Things that might just seemingly be kind of simple and straightforward to someone else, they might take and very deep process in a way and then make it something that it isn't, and become overstimulated by something that everyone else is like, I don't understand why they reacted that way. It's just this. But for them, it was a whole lot more. HSPs, highly sensitive people, they can tend to be more sensitive to environment, how things are feel, the textures of the clothes they're wearing, the heat or the chill in the home that they're in. They definitely have more sensitivity to criticism. Even constructive criticism, they can tend to take as, a negative thing, or spiral out that it means a whole bunch of other stuff about themselves than what was just being laid forth. And that's part of that deep processing stuff. Elaine Aron wrote a book in 1996 called The Highly Sensitive Person. She and her husband, Arthur, are both psychotherapists, and they're the ones that kind of coined the term, the highly sensitive person.
Yeah, but they actually found differences in their brain chemistry and a lot of different other factors that factor into it. It wasn't just...
Well, once they put this forth out, yeah, the subsequent research that started coming in, and the people that were volunteering, absolutely, they started to show that different areas in the brain are more heightened, more active than other humans are. Absolutely.
Well, and there's that, the idea of the mirror neurons.
Yeah.
Where there's these neurons in your brain that actually mirror other things that you are perceiving, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that how it works? So like,
HSPs and empaths show more of the mirror neurons, but then when you're seeing something happen in the world outside, it will mirror inside you and it'll feel like
it's
happening
coming
to
from
you.
you.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that the Aarons were really dialing in on the highly sensitive person is because they were realizing that a lot of the people that were just highly sensitive people were actually being misdiagnosed as being somewhere on the spectrum. That's kind of what really started this for them, is they were seeing that, well, this person's been diagnosed this way, but they don't really meet all these criteria. There's got to be something different that we're missing or that we haven't quite figured out or been able to define yet. So that was one of the big motivations for them, or inspirations for them, was from a psychotherapist standpoint to help find a better diagnosis for people so they could better have a treatment for them and how to move forward and help them.
I thought Judith Orloff was also another like front runner in the HSP research and diagnosis as well.
I know she had something to do with it, but I thought the Aarons were the ones that coined the term.
Oh, Judith Orloff is more, she works with like empaths and sensitive people. So kind of both of those.
But another good name to research if you're interested, Judith Orloff.
Indeed. So another type of person, this is more of like a psychic gift, clairsentience, is said to be clear feeling. And this is a psychic gift that works across space and time. So if you are clairsentient, then you will be able to feel other people. You'll be able to like tune into other people across space and time and actually kind of not only feel emotions, but you'll probably get some sort of information about the emotions that they're feeling in the time frame that you're tuning into them. A lot of times with empaths, they will be feeling these emotions of other people, but they won't exactly have any information as to why they're feeling those feelings. So when you're a clairsentient, you just get a little bit more information but I mean, some empaths do get information. There's this like blurry lines between these two gifts, I feel like.
Well, and I would say to that it's not like you're an empath and can't be anything else.
Right.
Oftentimes, you could be a highly sensitive person who has the intuitive gift of clairsentience and is also an emotional empath. So there is a little bit of the blending or blurring of these lines. They're not super set and defined and you're only this. Often, we're much more complex, us human beings.
Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest things that kind of distinguish them is that clairsentients have more, they've had more experience with that gift. So they're able to own it a little bit more. They've actually worked on it and come to own it and to really develop it and cultivate it.
It probably from the get-go feels more like a gift and less like a burden. Mm-hmm. Most empaths feel like their empathic abilities are a burden until they realize they're a gift and learn some things that can help them not only cope but thrive with that gift, to turn it into a gift for them and not just a burden. But when you have no awareness around it, and it was sure a burden for me, until I had some awareness and realized what was going on and that these things weren't just me, that it was my environment or the people I was around that I was also absorbing. And once I started to have some awareness, I could deal better with it. And then some of the tips we'll share at the end here for you, these are things that really have helped me kind of accelerate and not get bogged down by things, but just kind of own these abilities as gifts that they are.
So maybe being an empath turns into being clairsentient with the cultivation and the self-awareness. I
absolutely think that even if you weren't born as a clairsentient, but are an empath, you could definitely develop that gift. That potential because any intuitive ability is potentially there for somebody, but that usually takes some work. I definitely think that an empath could develop clairsentience for sure. So the next category of sensitive person we want to get into is known as a lightworker, or definitely known as a humanitarian. You could use those words interchangeably. But lightworkers and humanitarians, they have a belief that every one of us is interconnected. They can typically be connected deeply with the suffering of the world on a wider scale. And they want to do something about it. They can have this urge, this feeling, like my mission is to help. There's that drive, that feeling that they want to help others in some way. They typically will be able to look at past events with a positive lens, be able to go, well, man, those things happened and they kind of suck, but you know what? We learned this from it. That's kind of what a light worker does.
Yes, absolutely.
Is they can find the positivity, the silver linings, if you will. A light worker is somebody that what they do, their job, is probably going to be in some way helping others. I don't think a light worker or humanitarian is going to be happy being a bank teller. They're probably going to want to be assisting humanity in some way. They'll probably be the social worker or the psychologist, or pick anything else you want, but that's something to keep in mind. They're going to want to have an effect on others in a positive way with what they do.
Or the soul researcher.
Or the soul researcher, yeah.
And so the last type of category of person we wanted to cover are human design projectors. And human design projectors make up roughly 20% of the population. They are called this because they basically project back to others what it is they do or do not want to see about themselves. And so essentially, if this human design projector is around someone that has high self-esteem or high self-worth, they will love being around this projector because the projector will project back all of their high self-worth and high self-esteem back to them. And so on the contrary, if they are around someone that has really low self-esteem or really low self-worth, that person will have a very difficult time just being in the same place as the projector, because they will look at them, like the projector won't even say anything, but that somehow just being in their aura will basically make them feel worse about themselves. But it's really just a reflection of how they feel about themselves already. It is not usually how the projector feels about them. So it's kind of like this, it kind of is the same thing as that like mirror neuron thing that we were talking about earlier. Except it seems like this just happens like on an auric level and just kind of reflects back whatever that person is feeling. Not to mention, a projector also has the ability to absorb and amplify all of the emotions, all of the feelings that are happening around them. And so, obviously, if they're in a high vibe place where everyone's feeling good, then they're going to be absorbing and amplifying those high vibes as well. If they are in, a lower vibe or around a lot of suffering, then they're going to feel it on a more massive scale because they're going to be absorbing and amplifying those feelings. And on a side note, it is interesting because a part of the human design community also talks about projectors as their aura is constantly takes in and absorbs and amplifies the energies of the earth at all times. So this means that even when a human design projector is sleeping, they are constantly taking in this energy and balancing and transmuting the energies of the earth at all time. And so a lot of human design projectors will feel exhausted a lot of the times, even if they've laid around on the couch watching TV all day, because their auras are constantly taking in this information from the earth and processing it through their body and balancing.
Depending on what's going on with the earth in any given area or the massive consciousness, can definitely be interesting for a projector. They are kind of like light workers or humanitarians, kind of attached to the world as a whole, what's going on.
So that kind of sums up the different types of people that may be feeling this suffering or these, more negative feelings on a more massive scale. And we wanted to kind of move on to one of the big obstacles for people that are sensitive, and that is denial energy.
Oh, this one's huge. In trying to understand and have the awareness of what's going on. And denial energy, we're talking less about a natural disaster and more being around our fellow humans. So if you're an empath and you're feeling the feels, you're obviously just with your small group of people and you talk about what you're feeling or what's going on. and you know that someone around you is feeling this way, but they deny it. They're really, really sad about things, but they wanted to come out because they were hoping being with their friends would cheer them up, but it didn't work. But they're putting on a fake smile and they're doing their best, but what you're feeling is the denial of their sadness. And what would help the situation is if they could just kind of talk and be accepted for that, and then shift that energy a little bit, but to move that energy. So when someone is denying energy or burying their emotions around you or their thoughts, these things are not, they might be getting buried in a sense, if you will. I'm making air quotes with my fingers, but the energy of it is actually being pushed outside of them because they're denying the acceptance within themselves and push it outside. So that energy goes wherever it can at that point. And if you're the empath with a porous aura, or the highly sensitive person, or the clairsentient, or the human projector, or the lightworker, it's probably coming to you faster than others and more easily getting in. So that other people's denials are so difficult to deal with and understand because people aren't just being real about what's happening to them. And this could be, not that they're consciously, purposefully doing it, that, I'm burying these emotions so they go into somebody else. And there are others that definitely will try to drop a yuck ball of energy in your lap, bitch to you about this, this, and this, and never ask you what's going on with you, and just, I'm out now. I feel so much better because I unloaded that energy. Like, it could be happening, and that may not even be a conscious thing. But just the denials out there are very tough to deal with because literally when people deny, they are pushing with outside of themselves, whether they're consciously aware of that or not.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of men are taught that being strong is to deny their emotions and, put on a strong face. I mean, a lot of women are taught that too.
Yeah, stoicism doesn't really ever help anybody.
Yeah, so stoicism is definitely one of these ways where if people are denying their emotions, like you could be sitting next to someone and they can feel like, a boiling pot are about to just freaking blow over, but yet if you're a sensitive person, you're feeling that within that person, and it can be very difficult to be around them, even though they may look like they're completely calm or that everything's totally fine, but you feel that boiling within inside them, and it can be a little bit difficult.
Or you even ask that person, hey, how you feeling? Oh, I'm fine.
Oh, I'm fine.
Oh, I'm fine.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Don't look inside. Don't look inside. Everything's fine.
But on the other hand, this can also be denial of your own emotions too. If you are a sensitive person, you have probably heard more than once, like, oh, you're too much, or don't cry. Why are you crying? Stop crying right now. Or, I don't know, what are some of the others?
Those would be a couple of the big ones, but even when, as a little boy, boys don't cry. That was something I heard. Or you're too much. You always overreact.
Oh, great. This again?
Right, yeah. So it could have been anything that you heard growing up that was trying to encourage you to stifle your emotional expression in some way, whatever those words were from parents, adults, older brothers, friends, whatever it was. This can, in turn, as you grow, teach you to deny your emotions or deny your expression, when the greatest, best thing we can do is to vibrate those feelings, give them an expression so they can move. When we bury them, they're going to resurface at some point.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There are times that I've had big emotions coming up and, it was not a good time. And I got to a place where I could work with my emotion and even kind of have a dialogue and be like, look, I'm in the middle of this right now, but I promise when I get home, I'll make time to feel into this and see what's going on. And, you can show me whatever your wisdom is then.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't break down and start crying in the middle of my job right now. I just can't.
Oh, yeah, I had to use that on so many occasions, for sure.
And when you follow up and honor your emotions by giving them the time and space later, as you said, you can start to develop that relationship and then bring yourself out of denial when things are popping up at inopportune times. And then obviously when you're having a spontaneous emotional reaction to something and you can, that's the best. Go ahead and vibrate, feel the feels, move it, and then shift the energy.
Yeah, I think this next point is very, very important. That despite the intensity of what you are feeling and what your emotions are, you are not your feeling. And as we've kind of talked about before, if you are a sensitive person, you could be picking up on someone else's feelings. So if you are able to just transmute these feelings through your body and not attach to them, not do what I do and spend days trying to figure out why do I feel this way, or maybe not even days, but just spend all this time like going over it and trying to figure out why, where is this coming from, why do I feel this way? You know, lately I've been really trying to be like, okay, I feel like shit right now, but I'm just gonna not do that, not do the ruminating and the circular thoughts, and just say, okay, I feel like shit, but it's okay. This will pass. I just allow myself to feel that way and just try not to figure out where it's coming from or what I possibly did to make it come on. And it really does move through at a much faster rate.
The more we ruminate, the more we keep it alive and fresh within us.
And I get so caught up in that sometimes. That has been a huge challenge for me.
So keep in mind that despite the intensity with which you're feeling things, you are the divine being having a human experience and having feelings, but you aren't your feelings. You may feel sad, but you're not a sad divine being. You may feel joy, but you're not a joy divine being. You're just here in a human body with a breadth of experience and emotional possibilities, but you're not those emotions. Don't attach your worth to the emotions.
Yeah, that is a huge thing, is to not make your emotions mean something about you. But I do feel like it's important to also note that even though you are not your feelings, there is still a purpose to them. Like your emotions can serve as a guiding post for you. That is what honoring your emotions is all about. It's like, oh, wait, I'm angry. Okay, well, something wasn't right.
Yeah, no right or wrong, but your emotions can help you with what's right for you or maybe wrong for you. But it doesn't dictate that there's a right or wrong out there, but they are guiding posts into what you like or what you don't like or what feels better to you and what doesn't feel so good to you. So, hey, maybe next time when I'm about to do that thing again, I really didn't like how I felt afterwards. I'm going to make a different choice now. There's wisdom in our emotions.
Indeed. So there is this like fine balance between not attaching to them and ruminating over their meaning, but also using them as a guide to what is good for you and what is not good for you. So I mean, balance is key with pretty much everything in this world. Balance.
Yes,
so there is this balance, like ruminating for days over why do I feel this way is not obviously best for my health, but being like, okay, and it's all about, and it can be about trusting your interpretation too. Okay, this thing happened, that made me very angry, obviously that was not okay for me. So making that declaration, realizing that, honoring that within yourself, but also not ruminating over and over and over about, well, why isn't that good for me? Why? Well, I used to allow that to happen, so why am I not allowing that to happen now? Why? Why did I react this way? So it's about trying to find that balance between the two, using your emotions as a guidepost, but also not allowing yourself to get so swept away by them that they basically take over and ruin your life, essentially.
And on that note, it's good to understand, and you've had this experience, I'm sure, there will be other feelings. They're like waves. So if you're down in the dumps, know that there will be other feelings. You're not always going to be there, especially if you don't attach to it and keep ruminating and keep yourself there. That there is a chance to have other life experiences and other emotions and to move up the scale to more lighter feeling, more joyous emotions if you're down, and vice versa. When you're up high and feeling great, You live in duality. There's a chance that you're not always going to feel that way. Don't attach to it. It doesn't mean that you're good or bad or right or wrong or you did awesome or you did poorly. They're just guideposts letting you know what's going on in the moment. They weren't meant to be taken into the future, that it's always going to be this way. Life is duality. Life is polarity here, at least right now. Those are the rules that we play with. So allow the waves to come and go. Move through them. Don't attach to it. You're a divine being no matter what. I think this is a good time to maybe move into, if you feel like you're a sensitive person, and even if you're not, these are good tips anyways, but let's move into some tips on how to negate some of the more negative aspects of being a sensitive person or the things that can keep you down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if these will necessarily negate it completely, but these are steps you can take to help yourself. So tip number 1 is to find time to be alone, away from the auras of anyone else. And if you can be around trees, then do that, especially coniferous trees, because they have a lot of negative ions and they can help you ground. But it's very important, and we'll keep stressing this over and over, that if you are feeling overwhelmed when you are around other people, then it is important to find that time to be alone, to be able to tap into your own feelings, your own self, your own instincts, to really try to help yourself ground, help yourself and understand what it is that you're feeling in this moment.
Well, if you're an empath, this can help you to differentiate between someone else's emotions that you're picking up and processing versus what is truly your own emotional process, is to put distance between yourself. If you never take time alone and ground, and I don't mean, oh, I got 5 minutes. Like, you got to go out and take a walk for a while and be in nature and be alone before that and alone after that, and you've grounded. If you're not feeling exactly how you were feeling when you were just with those same people, then there's a chance that you were picking up on their stuff. By honoring yourself and your own energy, this is how you can start to have some awareness between what is you and what is not you, when your gift of empathy isn't coming with a bunch of information letting you know.
Right, and we don't have this on there, but this could be a time where journaling could be really helpful as well. You can journal how you feel, before and after, this is how you can really start to tune in and get to know yourself.
I wish I would have made that note, because journaling is always a good idea. Yeah. Definitely.
Indeed.
Tip number 2 would be, if you feel like something is off, trust yourself and your interpretation of it. Don't let your mind start questioning or getting into what it sees and what it dictates, because you could be feeling the denials of others or that situation differently than your mind can logicize what's going on. Trust your feelings. They have wisdom, and roll with it. When your feelings are telling you to go a different way, go a different way.
Well, and I think just because something isn't right for you doesn't mean that it has to be bad for someone else, too.
Oh, totally.
Like, just because you make that declaration, okay, this is not right for me, that doesn't have to be anything negative on anyone else at all. It's just, this is right for me, this is not right for me, this is right for them, whatever, It can be just as simple as that.
The only thing we can truly be assured of is our own selves, our own autonomy. That's what we're responsible for. Our energy, our feelings, our actions, our words. We may know what would be good for others, but ultimately they need to determine that for themselves. And just because we think it or feel it doesn't mean it would be true for someone else. But when we think it or feel it, it's usually true for us.
And so the point number 3 is understanding that the emotional state of others is not your responsibility. And by understanding this, it can be so freeing, especially if you fall into the category of an empath or a people pleaser or someone who really feels like it is your responsibility to make sure everyone around you is having a good time or feeling at peace, or they're not going through something, where they're ruminating. If you are someone who feels like you are the person that has to help everyone else through their stuff and not honoring your own wisdom and the way you're feeling in that moment, then this is huge.
And that's a great segue into point number 4. We're not saying to be selfish and only take care of you. I mean, do what you can for others when you're called to. We're just saying that don't make their emotional state your responsibility. So don't overgive and run yourself down in the name of others. Don't run yourself into the ground, because if you're depleted, you're not any good to yourself or others, even if you want to help them out. So learn how to create healthy boundaries for yourself.
Yeah, that's a big one. And
You've
that's
got that
hard.
big heart. Do for others, but don't do so much that you've got nothing left in your heart cup.
Well, and when you're giving from others out of self-sacrifice and not because you want to, then it doesn't really have the same feeling and impact as well.
Oh, it's a different energetic output.
Exactly. So creating better boundaries. I mean, boundaries are all the rage. I don't think that boundaries or even that word was taught much. It definitely wasn't when we were young.
Oh, goodness.
And it definitely wasn't, when our parents were growing up either. But this is very great information to learn and to research and figure out how to set healthy boundaries for yourself so that you can give from a place of love. You can give from this full cup, this beautiful heart that you have, instead of, feeling bitter or feeling like you have to or feeling obligated. Those feelings do not have the same kind of impact as I want to do this for this other person. That feels so much better, so much lighter.
I don't care about anything in return. I just want to do this because I'm called to, because my intuition, my feelings are guiding me to offer this or do this. That vibration that you're putting out is so beautiful compared to, well, they're just in this state of whatever, and if I don't do this, they're not going to be okay themselves. Well, that's not just freely doing it. You're doing it to help them be better. Who are you to decide that action makes them better?
Well, and who are you to take away from them the ability to figure it out for themselves as well? So I feel like you should take point 5.
So tip 5 would be to limit exposure to the news of suffering. Don't victimize yourself. And I'm not sure why. I've fallen into this. And I've definitely talked to people, and we've talked to clients, that we keep ourselves in a cycle of like feeling bad or sad about events that are going on. With like other people's circumstances, a natural disaster that happened that we're not involved in. But we keep ourselves glued to the TV, and it's in the name of being informed, or I know people there, I used to live there, or oh my gosh, what a tragedy. The thought is, how could I be happy when other people are suffering? How can I be safe when other people aren't? And that's not helping anyone. To keep yourself in a cycle of being sad, being grieving, being in suffering, just because someone in the world is. And I hate to break it to you, but somebody in the world is going to be suffering. There's duality in the world. I don't even like uttering those words.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is the world we live in. There's so much beauty and love and helping out. But there is the other stuff out there too. And there's so much that's out of our control. So tune in, find out what's going on, have your feels about it. Goodness, if you've got people involved, check in with them, see what you can do. But don't keep watching the cycle of negative news.
Yeah, perpetuating
Yes.
your suffering, because you suffering isn't helping those people that are suffering.
Now, if you're going to take this pain that you're feeling and do something good with it, turn it into empowerment. Like you've seen a natural disaster, you're feeling awful about what's happened. It's out of your control, but if you want to donate to disaster relief, or if you're near the area and you can go and volunteer with things, like this is a way to take that and flip the script and become empowered with it. That's beautiful. But to just keep yourself in a negative cycle and down and victimizing yourself over and over with what's going on in the world, If you can, stop. Break away. And especially the mainstream news media, they know that this stuff's addictive. That's why they pump the TVs full of it long after something has gone down. And they don't always share the redemption stories and the coming together stories. Not nearly as much as the negative ones, because negativity can be addictive. And we all know how good positivity feels. But for some reason, the mind will attach itself to negativity. And if you're aware of that and smarter than that, then you can know when to tune out. Tune in and be a little bit informed, see what's going on, check in with your peoples, and then tune out somewhat.
Or like you said, use it in an empowered way.
Feel the feels for those that can't. Become empowered and help them out however you can. But don't just keep tuning in to the negativity side of things and keeping yourself victimized by it. It's not doing you any good, and it's certainly not doing anyone that's actually suffering or going through the shit right now any good.
Yeah. And so the sixth point we wanted to bring up is to realize that you can't help everyone, especially the people who do not want to help themselves. So as much as it may be difficult to try to understand or put yourself in those shoes, some people do not want help, and some people do not want to be saved, especially if they get a lot of attention by being a victim, or if it's just much easier for them to blame others for their circumstances. Some people just really get into these cycles to where they get more attention by not taking responsibility for their lives and blaming everyone else for their circumstances. And so a lot of times because of that, there are people that just don't want help. They want to be those people that just kind of use you for emotional dumping and use you to complain to over and over. And this can be very difficult if you're someone who wants to help others. But it is very important to realize that not everybody wants that help, and not everyone wants to help themselves. And if you find yourself getting pulled into this cycle of this perpetual drama with someone you know or this group you know, then it may be time to pull yourself out and realize that, you know, you can't rescue people if they aren't willing to participate in their own rescue. And a lot of times, if you are a really sensitive person, or, you know, any one of the people in the categories that we listed in the beginning, then you probably have done some sort of the hard work, and you realize how hard it can be to face your own shadows, to face your own emotions, to face yourself in the good and the bad, and to bring all those parts forward in order to heal. And so, of course, you think, okay, I did it, so I can just force someone else into it, or if I just show them how much better I'm doing, then they'll want this for themselves. But that isn't completely true. Some people don't feel like they have the strength to do that for themselves. And unfortunately, that's not something that you can force on someone or help them see that healing themselves is what needs to happen, especially if there's someone who gets a lot of energy from, you know, staying in that victim mode, or really just enjoys, you know, feeling down. I mean, it's hard to think about, but there are people that do. So true healing comes from shifting oneself.
Ding, ding, ding. That's so true. When we're talking about energy healing or past life hangover healings, working with your karma, anything that needs emotional healing, it really truly comes from you shifting yourself. People can help be guides and show you the way if you are seeking assistance, but you are your own healer. Hashtag self-healers, I think that is.
Yeah, for sure. And so this is a big point, that if you feel like if there's someone in your life that you are wanting to change, then chances are there's something within you that they're bringing up that you do not like within yourself. And so it's a much better use of your time to work on healing that within yourself than it is to try to force healing or force someone else to see something about themselves that they don't want to see.
Yeah, and this point kind of goes a little bit with the last one. But instead of talking about a major disaster and the suffering like worldwide that we could keep tuning into, we're talking about individuals that might need help with things and healing. And if you're constantly in that cycle of someone dumping on you and you're just trying to, if I just listen, if I'm just their sounding board and listen to them or whatever it is, but again, you may need to step away and break away from that cycle. So just like we suggested, you may have to tune out of the mainstream media news broadcasting and keeping yourself there. You may actually have to start to put some distance between certain people in your life and see how it feels for you.
Yeah.
See if it changes things for you. Because unless somebody wants to take some responsibility for their own healing or shifting, you can't force it on them. You can't force it on them anyways, but you can't really be of help or assistance if they're not willing or even want it or are seeking it. And there may become a time when they are, and you can be there for them then. And maybe you're still around all the time. That's up to you. You have to decide what's right for you, what's wrong for you. How are you feeling in this situation?
Yeah. Nothing against them. This just isn't right for me
Exactly.
at this time.
This is right or wrong for you. That's all you can really dictate or worry about it. You can't say what's right or wrong for somebody else or what they need. Obviously, if they're asking for help or asking your opinion, there's the door opening for you to be of assistance for them.
And so this next one is something that Maddie and I feel very strongly about. It is something that has helped us tremendously in our life. I mean, we pretty much use this on a daily basis.
Multiple times a day, daily basis.
Yeah, or multiple times a day. So we saved this to be number 7 because we feel like it is the most powerful way to help yourself and really empower yourself when you're starting to feel bogged down by other people's emotions or the world situations. So this next one is have a reliable way to clear your energy and protect it.
Bonus if that protection is aimed to help solidify your aura, all you empaths out there, that's a bonus. Like Emily said, this has definitely been the number one most useful thing that we have incorporated in our lives, especially given our 3 years of open-ended traveling. We kind of did an estimate. We've been in 70 different houses in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
70 different homes between Airbnbs and home sitting and pet sitting for folks. It is just crazy to think about. I was kind of blown away that the number was that high when we started to count all the places we've been and stuff.
Well, it's like friends and family houses as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, over 70 different houses in the last 3 years. And environment makes a huge difference in the way you feel. I almost feel like this has been a huge experiment for us. I mean, Soul Vibe Insights, we're like, all right, let's really experiment with and research what different vibes are like.
Oh, wow, that could be a series of podcasts right there.
But each place absorbs energy. If you're feeling strong emotions in your household, you can bet your bottom that your home is holding on to those energies. So energy clearing is a great way to clear the energy of your home, but also clear your own energy as well.
And one thing I want to illustrate is we've been in 70 different homes, but you may have just been in your home. So if you have a protocol and a way to clear your energy and to clear up some of the energy in your home and help yourself, then by doing a practice like this over and over, that energy that's built up in there, you start to clear it away. And then you can fill it with a different energy And in time, your home will absorb that different energy and start to vibrate that, as opposed to, say, the sadness or the anger or the whatever vibe that could be in there. When you start to clear yourself, clear the home, and then fill it with something different, it really does, in time, start to become that different vibe. People will walk over and they'll walk into a different vibe than they did before.
Yeah, and the reason this is so powerful is because you are literally training your subconscious mind to choose what to pick up and what not to pick up on. You're essentially saying, okay, I want to clear all this energy away, that, my aura goes out and it automatically picks up all this emotional energy. But you know what? No more. Like, I want to clear that energy away. I want to protect my energy, and I want to start consciously choosing which energies I will allow into my energy field and into my home and into my vicinity.
Yeah, you kind of get the subconscious on board if you're constantly clearing away energies that would be kind of stale or negative or things you don't really want, when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're just doing a regular routine clearing. Well, your subconscious starts to realize, oh, wait a minute, we don't really need to pick these up and hold on to this stuff. So you start to create a stronger auric field. You start to create a natural repelling of these things. It's not that they won't come or you won't pick them up, but it isn't as easy. You aren't like glue anymore. Now you're like Scotch tape.
Yeah, we're painter's tape.
We're painter's, yeah,
Hopefully.
Painter's tape, there you go.
If this is something that you have not developed for yourself and something that you do have interest in, Maddie and I have created an online course teaching you how to do a simple energy clearing and protection. And we are in the process of working on a more advanced course now that we've been super excited about both of these things. But the intro course is available now on our website. It is only $44. It has, 10 different modules where we talk about the importance of energy clearing, the benefits. We talk about the how, the why.
We break down the divine realms and astral realm, your helpers, and also what you want to avoid, why you'd even want to do an energy clearing. So we give you a bunch of information, and then we give you a tangible way to do something about it. And it's a 5-minute protocol. It's something that can happen quickly. It's amazing when you put your intention with the right steps and process and using divine energy, what you can shift.
Yeah, the whole course leads up to teaching you how to do the 5-minute protocol at the end. So if that's of interest to you and you don't have a reliable way to clear your energy and protect it, then this could be a really powerful resource for you.
There will definitely be a link in the description. We're super excited to be offering an introduction to spiritual protection.
Yeah.
It's something that has been huge for us.
Yeah, and we recorded it in Moab, and it is just so beautiful. The videos are just so beautiful.
We made sure to do it in a high vibes place, and through the windows in the background is some beautiful scenery.
So I think on that note, we could wrap up. We're just so grateful to everyone that listened today and that continues for our support. We cannot thank you enough, and there's just so much love. And if there's any questions that you have about any of these points that we've made, or any questions that you would like to be answered, then please feel free to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'll have a link to our email in the description as well. Let us know what your experiences are like as a sensitive person, or if you've got questions or, just want to figure anything out with us. We'd love to be your sounding board. We live for this stuff.
Exactly. So thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, soul friends. We love you.
Mwah.
See you later.